This is Sophie Lawson from sophielawson.com, and this is episode 9 of the So Free Art podcast, which is a little podcast I do each week about art and things. And this one is going to be all about focus. So this past week I've noticed that I've been struggling with focus at the moment, and I've got so many ideas that I want to do with my art, but I'm struggling to focus on it. So I thought I would do a little podcast talking about it and try to work out various things that I've done in the past to be good with focus, because I think focus is linked with discipline. And also, the funny thing about this podcast is I haven't planned it at all. It's another one of those spontaneous ones. And so I'm going to be talking about focus on a podcast where I haven't planned, so I'm probably going to keep losing focus, which I think is quite funny. But I thought what I'd do is I thought I'd start with 2013 is when I first started drawing, and because I look back at that year, and 2013 was the one year where I really focused on my art more than anything else. And it's funny because I didn't really know what I was doing back then, but the focus seemed to come easy, because back then I was working full time, and yet I seemed to be able to achieve way more working full time than I have done since working part time, which is a bit weird. It's also because back then I was focused 100% on art, and that was in 2013 is when I started. I stopped watching TV, and I slowly stopped playing video games and stuff. And I was also not dealing with the transgender stuff, so I had no distractions, so it was quite easy to focus, because all I wanted to do was get really good at drawing, and I just kept thinking about that all the time. So I was meditating and visualising, being able to draw, and that kind of helped me focus because I knew what I wanted. So I knew that every day when I showed up for a couple of hours to do sketching or practice exercises, I knew that it was all adding up to being able to start drawing. So I think 2013 was the year I look back at that, and it gives me sort of a confidence that I know that I've got inside of me the ability to really focus like that. And I know little things that I can do to help, and one of the things is definitely about having the discipline to sacrifice other things. You almost have to sacrifice fun things like video games and stuff like that. If it's not getting you closer to what you want to do, you sort of have to make a decision of. You have to sort of have the courage, I guess, to sacrifice it. And somebody said once that, just because you're sacrificing it now doesn't mean you're always going to sacrifice it. So you might do a couple of years focused 100% on your art, and then after that couple of years you can start bringing back in other things. You could start bringing in the video games and sort of have a nice little balance between doing the art and drawing. But it's a dangerous game, that one, because I've actually done that, and I don't know. Well, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So that was 2013, where I found it quite easy to get the focus. And then in 2014, because of the art, it had shown me that I wanted to pursue my transition. And I remember at the time thinking that I knew this was going to interfere with my art, because if I hadn't gone after my transitioning and stuff, which to some extent wouldn't have made me happy, because I needed to become me to be happy. And so you have to say, is being happy more important than being really good at drawing or something? And I think happiness is more important. But then I also think you can be really happy and also be good at drawing. So I think what I've noticed is it's all about. Well, I guess what I've noticed is that the focus of the drawing like transitioning and everything else for me is actually part of the focus, I guess. So even though sometimes I get a bit frustrated that I'm not focused on my art as much as I want to be, I shouldn't forget that I'm focusing on my transgender stuff and spirituality and stuff like that, which is as important as the art because it's all about balance. But like what I want to do, I'm jumping ahead of myself a bit, but what I want to do is I want to have focus whereby I can focus on my art, focus on spirituality, focus on being myself. So like transitioning fully, which I've almost done now. And so that would bring me the peace. But the art gives me like the satisfaction. And then the spirituality just brings a nice calmness and stuff. So if I can focus on all three of those, this is the thing. Everyone says you have to focus on only one thing. And like the proof of 2013, my art did really improve a lot in 2013, and like since 2014 when I went after my transgender stuff, like if you go after something else, you have to accept that it is going to have an effect on the other things. So I hope it's not too confusing. I guess what I should do is go to 2014. So 2014 I decided to focus on like transitioning. That's when I started going to the gender clinic, and I came out on my website and everything as being transgender. The next year that followed, like 2015, there was hardly any art done really. I was still doing gesture drawings and sort of keeping the cogs running, I guess. But mainly I was focused on finding out who I am and like learning to accept myself. And then 2016, I was trying to bring art back in fully focused, but I wasn't ready because I hadn't fully sorted out the transitioning stuff. So I tried to bring the art back in too early, I think. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, with focus, it's easy to think that you only have to focus on one thing, but you don't, because if you just focus on one thing, say I just focused on my art, and I ignored everything else that I was feeling. So all the feelings of me wanting to transition, I just said, I'm going to sacrifice that because I want to focus on my art. And then something else, like say like meditation, I said I'm going to sacrifice meditating because I want to focus on my art. I'm going to sacrifice like reading books about spirituality and stuff because I want to focus on my art. If I did that, I mean, you might achieve a lot in the short term, but I think in the long term you would end up getting burnout and stuff because you haven't got the balance. So I think focus requires not just focusing on the one thing you want. You have to focus on everything that's going to also supplement it to bring in balance. That's what I've learned, I think. So I'm now at a place where I want to... It's hard at the moment because I've had a month of... Since I finished the painting challenge, I've been focused mainly on researching lucid dreaming and spirituality. I've also been looking into like ancient civilizations and stuff. I've really become fascinated by it. In a weird way, I keep thinking that all of this sort of spirituality stuff that I'm currently doing, and like all this research into the Egyptians and stuff like that, I'm starting to believe that maybe that's going to somehow play into my art. So like I say, one of the main things that I've always believed is nothing is ever wasted. Because I spent 12 years at a day job where all I was doing was putting in postcodes into a computer system. So it was a very repetitive task. And I did that for 12 years. But I look back now and you could say you wasted 12 years there doing sort of a not a very impressive job. But I don't believe that because the skills I learned in that job are massively important for drawing, because like the repetition of that job is very similar to drawing, in that when you're doing something like a realistic drawing, you are basically sometimes, especially with hair or fur, you're doing the same pencil stroke over and over and over again for like hours at a time. And so I think the sort of mindset that I was able to learn from that job, I've been able to put into my art. So like, I know nothing is ever wasted. So what I would say is, even if, say you wanted to focus on your art and you somehow got distracted and you spent a year focused on something else, I really do believe that it would not be wasted, because you would, if the art was strong enough, you know, it would pull you back and you would end up being focused on it again. But you'd bring with yourself all of the experiences that you learnt by being focused on something else. I hope that makes sense. So what I'm saying at the moment is, I'm kind of talking to myself really, because I've been getting a little bit frustrated with myself this past week, because I really want to get back into my drawing habits, but I'm really finding it hard, because part of me just wants to sit and watch YouTube videos about the Egyptians and stuff. So what I've got to try to do is get like a balance between watching those videos but also drawing. So what I've got here is, I've actually got this little, I'll put a link in the show notes, because it's a little habit tracker which you can find at seanwest.com, and I think he does it, I think the website is 5habittracker.com. It's 5 as in F-I-V-E, habittracker.com. And what Sean has done on there is he's created this little habit tracker, and he's produced like months and everything, so you can just print it out, and it's a really pretty system where you colour in, you assign like a task, you assign each habit for each day a different colour. So it's quite hard to explain, but for me, I've got one of my 5 habits are produce a piece of art, so that could be like a Lil Sophie sketch, a realistic drawing, a painting, anything like that. The next one is Croquet Cafe, which is the gesture drawings. So I want to do a piece of art each day and a gesture drawing each day. I've then got a purple one, those two are pink, so that I know they're to do with art. I've then got a lilac one, which is, it just says closer to me at work. So I've actually achieved that now, because it's actually this habit tracker which helped me become myself at work, because what I had to do was every day get closer to being me at work. So it started with me wearing my shoes, and then my trousers, and then I went on to makeup and everything. And so now I am myself at work, so I can actually replace that with something else now. And then I've got 2 blue ones, and the first one is automatic writing. So every morning I have to do my automatic writing. And the next one is read 10 pages of a book. So that's good, because it could be anything. It could be a book on art, it could be a book on spirituality. But I just want to make sure that every day I'm doing a piece of art, I'm doing something that gets me closer to being my true self. And I'm doing my automatic writing, and I'm reading something, so I'm learning every day. But what's really good about this system is you print it out and then you fill it in each day with colours, and you can look at it and you can just see what you've been doing every day and what you haven't. And over the course of March, every day I've done automatic writing, every day I've done something that gets me closer to being me. But then when I look at every day, I've also done reading, apart from 3 days. So I've read pretty much every day. But when it comes to the art, there's quite a lot of producing pieces of art, which have been Lil Sophie sketches. The Croquet Cafe has actually only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's only got 9 days out of 30. So that's not really good enough. But yesterday I managed to fill them all in, and I'm going to make sure I do that today. And I think what it is a little system like this is really going to help build up the focus. So, like the automatic writing, that's only 30 minutes. Reading 10 pages, that's about 30 minutes. So that's the start of the day and the end of the day. Closer to me at work, that would now probably be closer to me always. Or just doing something, pushing myself. that could be anything. So you can do that during the day. This is just for me though. And then the 2 pieces of art, I would say the Croquet Cafe takes 25 minutes, and then sketching you could do anything from 5 minutes to an hour. So this isn't really very long, but I really like this system, and I'm determined now to get every single square coloured in for April, because it's a new month tomorrow, and my goal is to get the whole of April fully coloured in. And what I do is I'll put an image onto the website at the end of April with it all finished. I think February, I started this in February, and February was actually really good. Because that's when I was doing the painting challenge. It's once I stopped doing the painting challenge, I kind of lost the flow of doing a piece of art every day. So I need to work on that. I guess the moral of the story is that focus is really hard, and I noticed that I beat myself up a lot if I'm not focused on what I think is the most important thing. But when I look back, I realise that it's not just about the one thing that seems important. It's about making sure you've got balance, and I think focus requires discipline. It definitely requires visualization so that you know what you're doing, because once you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, that actually motivates you to do it. And I guess at the moment I've only been visualizing being myself at work, and so that's why I was able to, in just a few weeks, go from being scared of being myself at work to being fully myself at work. So this proves that this little system here from 5habittracker.com works. But I want my focus now to be, I think what I need to do is get my focus to be more on art. That sounds weird, because then you're saying, part of me thinks you should focus fully. I think what you have to do is focus fully on the art when it's art time, but allow yourself blocks of time where you're not doing art. And that's actually what I did in 2013. So I think I've just worked out the secret. The secret is, because what I used to do in 2013 was I had every single hour of every day was on a sheet of paper, and I'd write, like when I come home from work, I'd say 2 hours of art, an hour's meditating, and that was pretty much it. It was really only art and meditating to start with. But I think what I could do now is I could say an hour of drawing, 30 minutes of gesture drawings, 30 minutes of reading, 30 minutes of automatic writing, and then maybe I could allow myself 30 minutes of watching YouTube videos. The problem I have is I find it quite hard to stop watching like a spirituality video, because I find them so fascinating, because I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I just find the whole thing, it speaks to me really deeply. So then there's other part of me that thinks maybe I should just focus on that for the moment and be happy with that, and instead of trying to focus on art, maybe now isn't the time to be focusing on art. Maybe now is the time to focus on spirituality, to try to understand what I believe is true. So I think you can see with this podcast, I've not really even focused. You can see kind of what my mind is like at the moment. It's all over the place, but I've got these amazing ideas. I'm going to share some. I've got this idea of, I definitely want to start doing more Lil Sophie affirmations. And what I want to do is I want to do a 12-day, I don't know if it's going to be 12 days or a 12 drawings over, say, 24 days or something, or maybe 36 days. But what I want to do is I wanted to create 12 Lil Sophie affirmations, and I think what I would do is I would have it 36 days. So one day would be sketching the idea, the next day would be drawing it and stuff like that, and then the next day would be colouring it and making sure it was okay. So that would be one, and then I would repeat that for 12 times, so that would make 36 days. So, and then I'd put that all on the website and stuff. So that's one thing I want to do. But I'm also at the moment just about to buy a Surface Pro, and then I'm going to get rid of my PC, and then I'm going to be able to sit on the bed and sketch Little Sophie, because one of the things that's stopping me from doing my Little Sophie drawings at the minute is the hassle of having to connect the computer up, and I also don't like being sat on my chair and stuff. I just find it quite uncomfortable, whereas when I'm sat on the bed sketching, it's really comfortable. I could sit there for hours. So if I've got the Surface Pro, I can sketch on the screen. So I'm hoping that will help. So that's one thing. I've got all these ideas for like Little Sophie stuff, and I've still got this idea for a course. And what it is it's either going to be called I Can't Draw or I Can Draw. It's going to be Little Sophie's I Can't Draw art class. And it's going to be a course that breaks down, like, if it's for people who say I can't draw, and it's going to prove that you can draw. And in my head it looks really good. I've got a 30-day challenge that will go together, and it's actually going to be using a system very much like the 5 Habit Tracker, where it's going to be a 30-day colour-coded system where you'll colour it in each day. So you'll want to keep the chain of filling in the things going, but it's going to include mindful things, because I think a lot of drawing is about your mind, because if you can get your mind to believe you can draw, then you can draw. So the course is going to be half about getting your mind in a good place, and half about learning how to draw and stuff. And it's going to be, because it's going to be for like people who believe they can't draw, I'm going to guess that they also won't have massive amount of time. Like when I started drawing, I only had a couple of hours every day. I'm going to guess that I'm going to make the course as if you've only got 30 minutes to an hour each day. So you'll have like a little bit of meditation, affirmations, automatic writing, and I'll mix things up a bit like that. And then the drawing will be, some of it will be sketching, some of it will be exercises and various other things. And again, I'll mix it all up, so each day is going to be a bit different, but there'll be little things. It won't require like massive amount of time. It can if you want to, but the course would be set up so that if you only had like 30 minutes a day, you could easily complete the course, and you would definitely see results at the end. And I want it to be, so you start off, you believe you can't draw, and you end the course knowing that anyone can draw and really excited to learn more. So I want to get that course done as well. And the good thing about that is making the course will actually improve my drawing as well, because I'll be creating loads of Little Sophies to go into the course. So I'll be drawing as I'm putting the course together. So in a weird way, it will be helping me, and hopefully it will help other people as well. And then I've also I want to just learn digital drawing a lot more, but I've had problems with my PC, which is another reason why I want to get a Surface Pro, so that I can have a better experience when working digitally. I also want to do one day a week, probably a Sunday, where I can just do whatever I want. And I would like to do paintings, like oil paintings and stuff, because I really enjoy doing that. But another thing is, at the moment my art desk is full of makeup. So once I get rid of the PC, I can put all my makeup onto that desk. So then I'll have a dedicated makeup desk. I can get my drawing table back, which means I can get back into my art, because at the moment there's so much set up for me to get drawing. Am I blabbering on a bit here? So like what I'm saying is, I've got all these ideas and I'm kind of overwhelming myself because I don't know where to start. What I did was I got a piece of paper and I just listed on that piece of paper everything I want to do that I believe will bring balance. It had like drawing, sketching, going to art class, taking photos, sitting with nature, working digitally, learning new things, reading, automatic writing, meditation. I just listed everything. I got a sheet of paper with loads of things on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of those things and I'm going to prioritise them, and then I'm going to put them into each day. And I think I'm going to try that and see if that works. But what I have learnt is that focus is really hard, but I also think it's not hard. It's like a paradox. I think I make it harder than it needs to be because I force myself into thinking that you have to do only one thing. But I believe you can do multiple things as long as you know that they're all going towards the one thing. Does that make sense? I think this is probably one of the most confusing podcasts I've done, being all over the place. But that's kind of where my head is at the moment. It's all over the place because, yeah. Yeah. So that's basically this week's podcast. I'll put links in the show notes, and I'll even put in a photo of my March 5 habit tracker, so you can see what it looks like. Because when you see it with all the colours in it, it looks really pretty. And I'm also going to use that sort of system for the course, because I think it's a really nice system. So I'll put a link in the show notes, and then you can download it and print your own ones out, and it's really cool. What else is there? Well, it's Easter tomorrow, so I'll say Happy Easter. Hope you have lots of chocolates. I've just bought a Cadbury's mini eggs chocolate cake today. I've already eaten a piece, but I already want another piece. That's another thing with focus. I guess that's another thing with discipline. I could quite easily eat that whole chocolate cake right now. I don't normally eat chocolate, but when it's Easter or Christmas, I allow myself a week of eating chocolate. So yesterday I had a piece of chocolate cake. Today I bought another chocolate cake. So this is going to be the week of chocolate cake, I think. So that's that. This was episode 9 of the Sophie Art Podcast. If you haven't signed up to the newsletter, you can get Lil Sophie's little newsletter at the website sophielawson.com. There's links to the newsletter at the bottom, and that goes out once a month on the 1st of each month. So it actually goes out the same day as this podcast, which will be the 1st of April. And in there I'll post little bits of art and inspirational stuff. And tomorrow's one there'll be some Little Sophie sketches, pencil sketches that I've done over the past month. I'll be talking about becoming myself at work and how that was. And there'll be some inspirational artwork from other artists. So it's only a little newsletter, but I think it's really nice. Hopefully you like it. And you can find that at sophielawson.com. You can find me on Twitter at sophielawsonart and Instagram at sophie.lawson. But this is another thing. One of the things with the focus is I noticed that social media was distracting me. I could do a podcast just about that, to be honest. So for the past week I've decided to not go on social media at all, and I'm really enjoying that, because what I've noticed is I'll just go on and post an image or something, and then 30 minutes later I'm still on there, and I don't like that, and I don't really want to be on social media. I don't really enjoy it. I'm only on there because everyone says you've got to be on there, and so I'm starting to, because of with spirituality, I'm starting to question everything, and I've even started questioning, do you have to be on social media? So at the moment I'm not on there, but you can find stuff on. I think I posted something on Twitter the other day, so you can find that on there. So that's it for this week's podcast. See you next week for another one, which will be episode 10, which seems a bit mad because it feels like only yesterday I started these. But this week's quote actually goes to George Lucas, and the quote is, "Always remember, your focus determines your reality." George Lucas. Nothing is ever wasted. 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 Nothing